I'm a freshman legislator, headed into my second election cycle. I sat on the, I guess the reason I'm here is because I sat on the local government committee. I was here as well as Gordy Vance, Mike Moore, Wayne Stahl. And in that committee, it was a C committee. I want to tell you a little bit about that committee because in the legislature, the committee is obviously where all the bills end up headed. And the local government committee is where we hear about all the growth management ideas that come out. And as a C committee, that's supposed to be your softest or your least busy committee. This year, I think we had over 120 bills come to that committee, which is a huge number for a C committee. In other words, with all due respect to my senators here, growth management is where the real fight is right now. It's where people, it's where a lot of the entities that are out there are pushing to take and manage the use of your property. For instance, it became really the killing fields of the legislature in that committee. You may have heard of the Big Sky Rivers Act. That's where they tried to take, I think it was 150 feet of your frontage or 200 feet of your frontage, and your river frontage, and not so that you couldn't use that land. That went through that committee, and we were successful at killing it and killing that bill in that committee with your support. The other bills, we had a village bill where they tried to create another form of government in addition to county government and city government. Now there's a pseudo-government that they're trying to create. Another example is they wanted to create a rail line system throughout the state for public transportation. Someone thought that was a great idea. Not sure who that was, but anyway. Another was they tried to, and I'm just going to give you a couple here. We tried to allow local government the ability to become a lender of such and lend based upon the property values. And so fortunately we squashed that idea as well. So all these ideas come to a head and they end up going through that fun little local government committee. And believe me, I spent hours and hours in there, as well as the rest of the legislators that were here, trying to sort of diffuse those issues. I think in the state of Montana, one thing that I've used in the last few months or several months since we've been out of the session is what's happened in the Ravalli County. How many are you from Ravalli County? All right. So we've got several here. And the pendulum of politics, as you know, swings. And what happens a lot of times is we become complacent. And we think that the folks that are running things are doing the right thing. And that guy's a good guy, nothing wrong with him. And we elect him to county commissioner's office or really don't look into his past, don't look into what his ideas is. We don't ask questions. We just assume that he's a decent guy. Next thing you know, you've got very strict, very stringent planning guidelines, zoning. Isn't that right?
Right.
And you're not able to put in a tree house, or you're not able to put in a guest house on your property. You're not able to put in, subdivide it as you were planning or intending it to do. And you've got these very strict guidelines and in the name of smart growth. Well, in Ravalli County, the people there rejected it, and they did a referendum a couple years ago and basically got rid of, as you probably all know, got rid of county zoning through their county. That's what we're pointing to in the Flathead, and I represent the southwest portion of the Flathead. And we tell people, look, this can happen to you too. Be careful what you do. Be careful what you wish for. And be careful what you don't do. Look at your county commissioners. The county commissioner position is a very important position, as you all know. And we've had to make some changes up in our county, or the people have made some changes up in our county as well. And so, you know, the legislature, I mean, I think that's the message that we learned from Ravalli, is that the people need to be aware of what is going on within their own county and in the legislature. Those are the two places where, you know, a lot of things can affect your property rights. And then I could, if there are any questions on that, love to answer them. I don't have very much, I don't have anything else to mention except for one thing, is that for the last, since the session ended, for the last 3 or 4 months, I've been inundated with calls about property reappraisal process. As you can imagine, as someone that represents the complete east shore of Flathead Lake, you know, I've had 50, 60 phone calls, emails, and letters from folks that are just irate about what's happened. And I'll give you a quick example. And this is really the straw that broke the camel's back for me, because I'd been helping folks and I'd been out, you know, telling them how to fill out their appeal process. And I also, incidentally, I also know it wasn't just the lake properties that were affected. I know it was the farmers. I know it was the ranchers and their property that was affected as well. So, but anyway, the straw that broke the camel's back for me was when I got a letter from an 82-year-old widow who had owned a piece of property on the East Shore for 60 years. It was 200 feet of frontage. They'd owned it since the, you know, like I said, 60 years. And they had a 782 square foot cabin that was a move on. And her property tax assessment bill went from $455,000 to $2.8 million. Her tax bill annually went from $4,000 a year to $17,000 a year. That was one person, and I've got documented cases of this out of dozens and dozens of people that had the same type of thing happen to them. Don't think it can't happen to you. Don't think it can't happen to you. So we're working on some reform. We're working on some ideas to make it more equitable. We don't think it's right that you can be taxed out of your property. If you talk to the Department of Revenue and ask them what they think, their comments are amazing. You've probably heard this. Well, she's got an expensive piece of property. She should sell it and move someplace else. How many of you heard that? You know, I think just to wrap up, get involved, be a part of the county commission, be a part of your local legislature, show up to your meetings that you need to find out about the candidates, elect proper people, and don't let what happened down in, learn from what happened in Ravalli. Take their, take the experiences that they've had and make sure that you implement it in your county as well.